Welcome to the LZ Sports Show. I am Mark Adam. I am always joined by my trusty sidekick. Don't tell him I said that. Mr. Keith McKnight. How are you, sir?
I am doing very well. How are you doing this morning, my man?
Doing all right. Doing all right. We are socially distanced because we want this pandemic to be over, so we're doing what we can. You folks stay safe out there as well. We would also like to acknowledge that you can follow us on all our socials. So Facebook, the WPG Magazine's an easy one. Instagram and Twitter at the WPG Magazine, and then YouTube, WPG News, WPG.news/YouTube will get you all the way there. You can give us a call on the WPG Sports line. So call 431-800-4555. Leave us a message. What do you think's going on with the Jets? How do you think the Bombers are going to shape up if they end up having a season? Valor FC is looking to, the CPL is looking to start their season in, they said May. Let's talk about that. What do you guys think? Leave us a message. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll use those recordings on future episodes potentially. So do get at us there. And last but not least, the shameful plug. If you'd like to advertise on the LZ Sports Show, then you send us an email at ads@thewpg.ca or give us a call at 431-489-2401. We are going to get going right away after this word from our sponsor.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bath, we do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dougal Road. Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
Well, thank you very much to Aquatech for that, and let's just jump right into it. Last night, not a great night for the Jets. They were in action against the Canucks at Bell MTS Place, and that didn't go the way that they wanted it to say the least.
No, it did not. Not one bit. And, this game did not have anything go the Jets' way at all, as you can see, other than their face-off percentage win, which you would think that majority of the teams that do, when they dominate in that category, they usually do come out on the winning side. But there was just something else that Vancouver came out with, and especially being on the road, because regardless if there's fans in the building, it's always hard to win in another team's arena. So regardless, as I was saying, it was just Vancouver really showed up yesterday, and you see 0 for 1 on the power play. So both teams, they didn't play shorthanded for a large amounts of time. And then as you saw, like four minutes for penalty infraction minutes for the Jets, 2 for the Vancouver Canucks. The physical side that the Jets were trying to, show off to the Vancouver Canucks last night, as you see 23-12. And you kind of think that when you bring in that type of physicality, my man, Mark, it would be kind of tough for Vancouver to really be like, okay, we got to be on this. But I guess the Vancouver plan yesterday really executed, and maybe Vancouver's a little bit fed up of losing. I kind of think that, with what's been going on there, a little up and down, and as cliche as it sounds, peaks and valleys, highs and lows, right? And Travis Green is probably not impressed with the unit. What do you have to say about that?
Well, the Vancouver Canucks haven't won a single game when they haven't scored first. So it was not a great sign for the Jets when they did score first, because that, their odds of winning just went up a whole lot. Now, with the Jets this year, a 2-goal deficit is nothing. But they got 3 goals up on the Jets very quickly on some really great stick work and a couple of lucky bounces, to be honest. So, a lot of people jumping on Helly right away. Like, I don't think Hellebuck was the problem there. I thought if you're going to sort of blame anyone, blame luck and the fact that, as you said, the Vancouver Canucks showed up to play. They weren't kidding around. They were in front of the net. They were creating traffic. Those tips weren't accidents. Those are set plays. We see that more and more in the NHL every single day. You see more of those set plays where the put people in front of the net, fire the puck towards the net, and see what happens. Try and get that deflection. People aren't shooting to score from the point anymore. They're shooting for the deflections. So things are a lot different now. And last night, you saw a Vancouver squad that played a full 60 minutes, which typically hasn't been their MO this year. So I think key tonight for the Jets against the Vancouver Canucks again would be to make sure they score first, because that, like, literally 0 wins on the year for Vancouver when they don't score first. So that's, I think, a place they could start. And I think looking at clearing lanes in front of the net when they know shots are incoming, the Vancouver Canucks aren't waiting for an open lane. They're literally shooting it towards the net, hoping for the tip at the net. They're not shooting for on-target shots at the point. So blocking the front of the net is not necessarily doing yourself a whole bunch of favors. It's just the way that I saw it go down, but that I could be wrong. I'd love to hear what other people think about that as well. So
certainly,
yeah. Was there a player for you that sort of stuck out last night? I mean, before you answer that, we should look real quick at the actual score sheet. Big fat blank on the Jets side. That's unfortunate. Oh man, tough one. And for Hellebuck, that is not a great stat. 15 saves on 18 shots. That's not great. That is not a showing by a Vezina caliber goaltender. Do you think that maybe he took the night off, or what do you think was going on here with Hellebuck?
Okay, so the two things that I really think happened realistically, one, an off night, but I read an article a couple years ago about I'm not sure if some of our viewers and fans, we are pet friendly here at the LG Sports Show, and please forgive me here, but I have a beautiful dog here that is coming and going, and I'm not going to neglect it. So as we go back to what I was saying,
all good. Leave the dog be. It's all good.
Thank you. So there was an NBA article I read where two friends were playing against each other, and one of these individuals came into that friend's city. That friend took that other friend out all night and drained his complete energy. I think that maybe there's somebody on the Vancouver Canucks here who Connor Hellebuck might know. He might have hung out with them last night, and I don't know. When you say took a night off, yes, let's put it on that. But you never know what can have happened. And that's where I wanted to go with this, Mark. You know, the Winnipeg Jets had a bad night. Please, fans, please. This is a test of everybody's fans' loyalty. Even the words that I said in our last show, I said, this is the team that I want. This is the team I'm behind. This is the team I'm going to support. This is the team that I pick. Regardless, it's because of the team in proximity that we have to cover. But they're showing what they're about. And okay, so they had an off night. Fans, please don't take your posters down. Don't stop wearing your gear. It was one bad game. You know, you're coming off of a loss. It's going to happen. If it comes at home, it's okay. You've been hot at home. This Winnipeg Jets team has been very, very hot at home. Eventually, some things are just going to have to end, and they might cool down. And I think that's what happened last night, regardless of like the analogy of like Connor Hellebuck maybe be taken out by a friend from the other team or he took a night off. They're bound to lose a game here and there after they were so dominant.
Yeah,
absolutely. These guys get tired. They get tired. And maybe last night, that's what happened.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think when you look at a team and they're down, 4 games in a row, that's a problem, right? The Jets, the loss last night snapped a 4-game winning streak. I don't think it's time to panic. I think, even if I thought Hellebuck was to blame last night, which I don't, the crazy bounces and tips, what are you going to do? And then the 4th goal they scored was obviously an empty netter, so that had nothing to do with Hellebuck. I think the Jets played an absolutely dominant third period, especially. They ended up with, what was the stat again? Let's have a look at that. That was, 27 shots, right? So the Jets had 27 shots on the night, which gave them plenty of opportunity, but they literally had 12 shots at the end of the second period. That means 15 of those 27 shots, more than half of them, came in the third period alone. And that is what we've talked about it before. That is not a sustainable way to play hockey if you are the Winnipeg Jets. They continue to allow themselves to be in that deficit situation time and time again this year. They do sport the best winning record when down after the first period, and when allowing the first goal and all these wonderful stats, but that doesn't mean you want to be putting yourself in that position game after game and night after night. It's draining on a team, and there are going to be nights like last night when they try to get too fancy and they try to do too much stuff, and a team like Vancouver just happens to play a really good game, and you cannot climb out of that deficit. Also, what were your thoughts on Thatcher Demko last night? Speaking of goalies.
Oh, geez. I've been a fan of him, like I said in a couple episodes ago, when I discovered Thatcher Demko being a part of the U.S. National Development Team program. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start following this young man's career. And as I continue to, then I'm like, oh, wow, he got drafted by a Canadian team. Now I'm like really paying more attention. And now that we're on the topic about him, Mark, I think last night he took things personal. I think what's going on in Vancouver, it's a problem. Vancouver with Travis Green, and they're in there, like I said, peaks and valleys, highs and lows. Oh my God, peaks and valleys, and there's lots of mountains in Vancouver. So it just kind of goes hand in hand. So, he doesn't want his job, like Ducharme's job in Montreal who they just fired Claude Julien, right? That's who it was.
Yeah.
So, he doesn't want his job to be in jeopardy. And I think that he's trying to round these guys up and beyond the coaching problem here. I don't even know if that's a problem with the coaching mentality where Travis Green's like, oh my God, I don't want to lose my job. I think all the players who lace their skates up for the Vancouver Canucks are sick of this inconsistency. And I think last night they really wanted to be like, okay, look, we can break out of this slump. And that's what they did. And Thatcher Demko, he just took it personal because he was showing some high level of inconsistencies with his goaltending, and even Braden Holtby. And Vancouver was probably like, okay, what did we get ourselves into here? But last night with a 4-1 win on the road against a team that's really good. And you know what? You said this yesterday. You said this exactly. And this is where I'm going with this. Edmonton may have lost a game to the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday, but Edmonton is 8-2-0 in their last 10. All right. I want the Jets to go 15-5.
Just want a point of order. They played again last night, the Edmonton Oilers, against Toronto, and lost. So now they're 7-3-0 with a 2-game losing streak.
2-game losing streak. Okay, so now
Edmonton, just to be clear.
Right? So it's not a bad thing. Good teams are going to lose games. It's going to happen. And they lost to a team that's hungry, and they had their winning streak snapped. It's not like this team was adding more to losing, exactly like you said. And when you're in the same conversation with the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and to quote that, yesterday, you just released power rankings, and you ranked the Jets in the top 5. And that's exactly where they should be.
Yeah, it was there's a little bit of gut instinct, but I allowed the 4-game winning streak and their record at the time in their last 10. That really pushed the Jets higher on the power rankings. But I totally understand people who have the Jets a little lower. They have them maybe in that 7 spot, 6, 7. I get it. I thought 5 because of the way they've been playing of late, and the way that they win when they score first. They win when they get scored on first. They win on the road. They win at home. 8-4-1 at home so far this year, 5-3-0 on the road. The Jets are playing great hockey. After last night's loss, they are 6-4-0 in the last 10, where yesterday, before that, they were 7-3-0. So I don't know. I really think the Jets have what it takes to compete this year and be one of the, they're a contender for the Cup. I really think that. They think that. And I think there's a lot of other teams in the league that fear them because they think that. So that's sort of my thought on that.
I'm so glad you said that, because just last night I was on Instagram, and you know me, I'm not very tech savvy. I'm not very social networking savvy. So I'm just getting into these things right now. And yesterday, and I'm glad I don't remember which Instagram company or Instagram handle, if that's what the kids call it, or username. Oh my God. They said they had a top 10 percentage for who was going to win the Cup, and the Jets weren't in there. And I am not head coach Paul Maurice. Okay. But I was very insulted, and I think my voice just cracked there. But anyways, I really think that I was very offended for this team, because they're good. They can play, they can compete, and they have great problems to have, which I don't think other teams in any other division, regardless if Canadian teams are seeing them or not. The Jets are a team to worry about. And just because they've had a 4-0 loss last night, that's okay. Maybe Thatcher Demko was just a man possessed, and he's like, nothing's getting by me. Nothing's getting by me. And that's a good mentality to have when you have a dominant player like Mark Scheifele coming at you who wants to continue. He may have ended his point streak, but he wants to pick up right where he left off. Then you got Blake Wheeler, who just wants to lead this team out. Nikolai Ehlers picked up a fight a couple games ago. Don't you think this guy wants to come out? You know, so it's just, I think Thatcher Demko and the Vancouver Canucks just showed up against a really good team. It was almost like they were like, oh, we're playing against, you know, like a championship caliber team, exactly like you said. And I was insulted for the Winnipeg Jets when I saw that on Instagram yesterday. I'm like, why are they not a team that they wouldn't be there?
Well, you know, I totally understand why people would say that. It's not always just about, you know, how they're playing right now. It's about, do they have playoff potential? And you've heard Paul Maurice talk about their style of play and how sometimes what they're doing, you know, those opportunities that they always capitalize on, those disappear in the playoffs. That's not the style that you need to play. I think, you know, to counter my own point there, I think this season is more like a playoff style of season than we've ever seen before. It's short, it's small series against other teams, it's, you know, lots of back-to-backs. The Jets play a ton of games this month with 3 separate back-to-backs. It's hard to say it's going to be an easy go for any team. But to say that the Jets, you know, to not put the Jets in your top 10, I agree. Definitely, I would say that's a snub at best.
A huge snub. And like, yeah.
When you see stuff on the internet, though, it could be somebody trolling as well. You never know. You know, people saying things just to get, you know, a rise out of people because they want the clicks, they want the views. But that's how the internet is these days. But I think the Jets have one of the best shots, you know, in the league. I put them in my top 5 in the power rankings right now, and we'll see where we are at the end of March after the really, really busy schedule that the Jets have to contend with. They have 17 games this month, three of which are back-to-backs. They have to play the Canadiens 4 times. They have to play the Canucks four times. We've, you know, 3 more times because we've already got one out of the way. We play the Calgary Flames 3 times, and we play the Oilers twice. And I'm glad that we only play the Oilers twice, because I think right now they've got a little bit of humility smashed into them by the Toronto Maple Leafs, but because their last 2 losses to the Toronto Maple Leafs with zeros on the scoreboard both times, that's a little bit rough for an Edmonton Oilers team that was looking very, very hot. It's tough to be an NHL team at all this year. I don't know. I'm looking forward to how it all shapes up for the playoffs. Bad bounces, all that stuff, were really what I think were the downfall for the Jets last night. That plus the Canucks playing super well. You're keeping the dog calm there.
Yes, I am. I'm so sorry, folks. I'm so sorry. He's about to fall asleep, and you know,
if you don't give him the attention, he'll start chewing on the microphone.
Thank you, folks. Thank you to our fans for bearing with us. You know, that's not a technical difficulty. That's a good problem to have. We're not the Winnipeg Jets, but we have good problems to have too. All right,
we do, and his name is Moffat.
All right, Moffat.
Now, you mentioned Ehlers when you were talking there. What was your takeaway from last night? Because I thought Ehlers was doing way too much fancy stuff and not enough of the fundamentals. He was trying to be a hero. He was like, for example, and everybody saw it. They'll show it on every highlight package. What was he thinking? Comes across the blue line, has Kyle Connor. Basically, if he hits him with the puck, Kyle Connor has a straight shot at the goal. But he does that little flip between his legs, like what are you doing there? What was that? What was that? And the pass went way past Connor. What was he thinking? He's just trying to do too much, I think. And I think we've talked about it before. My personal theory, because you have your conspiracy theory about Hellebuck being friends with somebody on the Canucks, and I forget whose hair you said was causing him the problems. Was that Carey Price?
Carey Price, and the fact that Matthew Perreault, since we're on the topic, because like, yes, when he cut his hair and he shaved his nice pirate beard where he could be totally on the Pirates of the Caribbean and like dominate the Hollywood scene. Yes, man, his production level has gone down. Matthew Perreault was a 3-star player every night when he had long hair coming out of that helmet. I'm telling you.
So it's all about the flow. I get it.
It
or
is.
not having the flow if you're
Or not,
Price.
or not. It's one or the other. And like, yeah, some people it just works for, and some people, I think he's a flow kind of guy. He's a flow kind of guy.
Yeah, I love your hair theory. But you know, conspiracy theories for me for Ehlers is I really think with Pierre-Luc Dubois being in the lineup now, you know, all that time that Ehlers spent sort of getting out of Laine's shadow, I'm very worried that he is, and it's not the media doing it, and it's not the coach doing it, it's not other players in the dressing room doing it. I think
it's
he is putting himself back into someone else's shadow, and I don't think he needs to do that. I think his production has been up significantly. Not scoring last night broke a streak for him, and you know, he's a multi-point per game player any given night. So I think if he gets out of his own head, he's going to have a lot more success. It's unfortunate that he sort of lives in that realm. So that's my sort of conspiracy theory. But he's putting himself back under Pierre-Luc Dubois and thinks he needs to do all these extra things to sort of, you know, set himself apart, or you know, make sure that he feels like he's contributing to this team in the way that he feels he needs to in order for them to win. And when you're already down 3 goals, that kind of stuff has to go out the window. You have to put your ego aside. You have to put that fancy stick down and pick up your club. You got to do the fundamentals. You can't worry about doing all that extra stuff.
I love where you're going with that, because you wrote that article like he was stepping out of Laine's shadow. Now he seems like he's stepping back into someone's shadow, and he doesn't need to do that. And the fancy stuff doesn't work. And you know what? Head coach Paul Maurice does not like that type of play. He's not that type of coach. He wants them to play as a cohesive, integral unit. And that's the only way that they're going to win hockey games in this league, especially with the 56 or 58 game season. Like, the playoffs are just around the corner.
Yeah.
And one majority of the teams that they're playing against right now, they're probably going to be seeing 1 or 2 or 3 of them in the playoffs. And that's just the way things are going to work. And the Jets, yeah, like you said, put your fancy stick down. Yes. And maybe that has a lot to do with it, even though that the fact that maybe Thatcher Demko was a man possessed, like I said earlier. Maybe Vancouver was just their night, but the fanciness was probably a lot to do with that too. And then you can see maybe a lot of other guys were trying to do too much individually. And that's probably what happened last night. And you said at the end of the Montreal series, when Vancouver was coming to town, the Jets shouldn't overlook this team. And I think that's also what happened yesterday. And maybe because of the slump that Thatcher Demko was on, he's like, oh, he's on the road, no big deal. We can just maybe toy with them. But you have Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson. I'm going to say Elias Pettersson one more time, just to make sure I get it right and to let everybody know that this guy can, like, he ripped off Connor Hellebuyck's helmet. When was the last time you saw that? On any goalie, on any shot.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the stats again, the score sheet from last night, you got a team that has 9 wins, 14 losses, 8 wins, 14 losses going into last night's game. They are hungry. And you mentioned Pettersson and Hoglander, JT Miller, Schmidt. Schmidt had 2 of those shots from the point go in. One was a goal for him because it went off of Kopp's stick instead of an offenseman's stick. But then Hoglander got a tip in off of that as well. By the way, that was his first this year, I think, after 30 some odd shot attempts on the year for Hoglander. His first goal, I think they said last night. That to me, I didn't look up that stat. I heard it during the broadcast, and if that's true, that's pretty hilarious for a guy that we talked about before. Neither one of us are huge fans of his style. He's kind of a disturber of fecal matter, to put it, child friendly. He likes to stir the pot, and he likes to be one of those players that's under people's skin. And I don't think he needs to be that kind of player. I think he feels he does because of his size. but he really, if he just plays his game and plays, he's got enough skill to do stuff right. So good for him for scoring. Unfortunate night for the Jets all around. I am confident that, even with that loss, that 5th place on my power rankings is not out of place, but that, Toronto beat Edmonton last night as well.
Very accurate. Please give that a read. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I read that article last night. I know you sent it to me on Slack, so forgive me, I didn't read it through our actual messaging platform, but I read it on our actual site and I loved it. I just wanted to really give you a pat on the back for that. And as well, fans, viewers, please give that a read. It was a very well written article by our man and our host, Mark Adam, that you're listening to right now. Please give that a read.
And if you do give it a read, whether you're reading it from the link I put on Reddit or you're going straight to the wpg.ca/sports, that article is there as well. Comment, let me know. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I know that there was a little bit of controversy there because I don't know where I have a physical copy of the thing here somewhere. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the article, basically, I put some teams on there that I know some people wouldn't have, or definitely not in the top 10. Edmonton Edmonton made the top 10 for me, but that was a barely thing where some people would obviously put the Edmonton Oilers there because the Edmonton Oilers, technically, if you look at the Edmonton Oilers via what the NHL thinks, the Edmonton Oilers, where are they on the NHL's list? Edmonton, 7th. They're 7th. If you look at just the points total, I keep saying I prefer to look at things through points percentage because it's how many games have you played and how many points have you won out of that. That, to me, is a much better indicator. So I just think that we should be looking at it through that. And that's why when I show the standings here for all the teams, if you can, I'll put them up on the screen here. This is how I organize it. I have the place on the side is how they are officially ranked by the NHL, but this is how I rank the teams right now. And for me, Edmonton, if you're actually looking at the stats, I have Edmonton 15th overall because I sort it by points percentage, not by number of points, because that takes into account they've only, Edmonton has played 24 games. That is among the most in the NHL of games played, but they only have 14 wins. So
you got me rocking back in my seat here, and I'm like, I slouched here now, and you have like a Moneyball approach to this because forget about the actual standing that they're actually in. It's just, this is why you keep elaborating the 3-point system is going. That's why I went up like this. This is why this is going to work. And when you break it down like that, this is why you need to bring that up on more episodes because that when the fans can see those types of numbers, they can see that. Pause the show, screenshot that. This is where it makes sense. This is where the numbers do not lie.
And people say, well, the mid-season rankings don't matter. I disagree. I think that if you're trying to look at what your team needs to do and all that kind of stuff, you really need to know where you stand. And I think that the NHL's current system, especially this year with the shortened season and all of the postponed games because of COVID-19, I think that it's a real disadvantage to teams who've had a lot of games postponed that you're not taking them seriously. Dallas has only played 16 games, for instance, but they have they only have 6 wins. That's not a great example. But they're at 500 as far as number of points they could have earned. So when you look at other teams that have lots of games played, so they have lots of points, it skews everything. When you look at Detroit, who's in 27th, I actually have them in 30th. If you look at Ottawa, who's in 28th, I have them in 31st. Buffalo, who's sitting in 31st, I actually have them up in, I think 28th place. But, not that mattered. All that is kind of a moot point when you get that far down the standings. And that's actually where Vancouver sits for me, is just above Buffalo, because they've played 25 games and they only have 9 wins. That 14 losses is a big deal. So, looking at this top 10 that we've got on the screen, this is how I want to see it organized. And another big thing is when you put players on waivers, the standings do matter.
The standings do matter. Yes, they do.
They just do. So I think it's a more accurate way to look at it. And again, we're always harping on that 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. But I believe in it wholeheartedly. So a couple of quick things. Toronto beat Edmonton last night in a shutout. That was unfortunate. Ottawa beat the absolute snot out of Calgary. I don't know if you saw Calgary's warm-up last night before the game, but it was a gong show the entire time, and it didn't stop when the puck dropped at the beginning there. It turned into a real sort of rigmarole, if you want to call it that. So 6-1 is a brutal beating to take. Batherson scores twice in that game, by the way. He's on a 6-game scoring streak. Batherson of the Ottawa Senators. So look out for that guy. Ottawa only has 8 wins, and Batherson has a 6-game scoring streak going on right now. In their last 10, yeah, in their last 10, Ottawa is 6-4-0. That's actually a really good stat for their last 10. Unfortunately for them, the rest of the season also counts. So they got 15 losses over the course of the season, and 1 overtime loss as well. But 8 wins, 6 of which are in your last 10. Ottawa is doing everything they can to climb their way out of the basement. I just don't think they're doing it fast enough.
Like how you said they climb their way out of the basement. I'm going to write that down. I'm writing that down off air. But yes, no, that's pretty much, yeah, no, that's a really, yeah,
absolutely brutal.
Division, yeah.
And so up next for the Jets, obviously right back at it tonight against Vancouver in the back-to-back. They play Montreal twice before the week is out. The next week, it's all Toronto. So they're going to be on a 5-game road trip after tonight's game. They're going to be in Montreal twice, Toronto 3 times in the following week, and then they're back here to play Montreal again. So I think the Jets just need to keep doing what they're doing. I liked to see that they, and it's funny because we harp on those stats that they need to get better if they want to win more games. The face-off percentage that they're always losing, getting outshot every single game they play, and getting out hit. But last night they won in all of those categories and still came up with a big old goose egg. It's unfortunate, but it happens. So hopefully tonight they can figure something out. You have to imagine Brossoit gets the start tonight, back-to-back game. I thought they should have played Brossoit last night and Hellebuck tonight. But I'm not Paul Maurice, and he's the man with the plan, so we're going to figure out what he's got going on.
It'll be a good game tonight nonetheless, though. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
I'm really hoping so. And, I mean, last night, in the third period especially, the Jets had more than enough opportunity, and they created it themselves. They weren't given anything by the Vancouver Canucks. Credit to the Vancouver Canucks. They played 60 minutes of hockey, which they don't do often
Very
or at
often.
all this year.
No.
So, I mean, the Jets created some opportunities despite that in the third period, and they just couldn't do it. They couldn't beat Demko. So, you know, let's see what happens tonight. I'm really curious how it all plays out. Either way, go Jets go. We're out of time for the day. Don't forget to send a big old thank you to our sponsor at Aquatech Pools and Spas. Yeah. So thank you very much to them.
It's coming up for the season right now, right? You know, things are spring and summer. It's the perfect time, you know, and just be sure to join us again on the LZ Sports Show, right? Tomorrow, 23.5-hour break, Mark, and you'll be right back here.
We'll be right back here. Follow us on all the socials again. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. That really helps us out. I know it's so hard. It's a very difficult thing to do, to click that button, because, you know, the notifications and stuff are, I get it. But just click that button, click the alert button, get the notifications when we go live, when we put up new content. That is the WPG Magazine's YouTube channel, not just WPG Sports. So there's also free dance classes that, like, for charity and things. There'll eventually be some free yoga classes for charity. We're going to be doing all kinds of cool stuff. There's live concerts and all this other stuff that we're doing on that YouTube channel. So do like and subscribe and make sure you get the notifications. We will see you next time. And again, we'll just real quick, WPG Sports Line, 431-800-4555. Leave a message. Let us know what you think about your local sports clubs, whether that could be the Manitoba Moose, it could be the Winnipeg Ice, it could be any Winnipeg sports club. we want to talk about
Doesn't
it.
even need to be professional. Doesn't even need to be everything. Even if it's amateur, whatever level, you give us a call. We will talk about it.
Yeah, and eventually down the road, we will be having a call-in show where you can actually, join us for, on air and talk to us, and we can talk back. But right now, technologically, I'm limited to what I can do. Leighton Janice says, thanks, folks. Great epi as always. Appreciate you, Leighton. You're great. Thank you for watching. Let's spread the word. Share the crap out of this if you can. thewpg.ca/sports is the home of the LZ Sports Show. So for myself and for my partner here, Keith McKnight, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.